Welcome to week 4 of Entrepreneurial Marketing. This is Sean Canary. This week we're going to be talking about understanding consumer behavior. But before we get into understanding consumer behavior, I wanted to remind you that there's 2 assignments due this week. The first one is the week 4 quiz, which can be found in your McGraw-Hill portal. And then the second assignment is your section 1 of your paper, which can be found in the assignment section of Canvas. Now, your section 1 of your final project includes your mission statement, your strategic plan or focus, and your situational analysis of your fake or real company. Now, for this class purpose, we're trying to build a marketing plan for a small business or a small company. So if you already work for one, please use that. If not, please create one in your imagination. The idea is that you'd be able to create a marketing plan that you'd be able to take out of this class and actually implement. Now, section 1, there is no length of that's due. I expect it to be at least 1 page in length. But again, I'm looking for quality over quantity here. And I want you to create a mission statement for your company. Tell me a little bit about what your company does. Write your strategic plan or focus as far as what your products are and who they're intended for. Talk a little bit about your situational analysis of your company, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And this can be in grid-like format. But to find these 3 things, please refer to Chapter 2 in your book, which is Developing Successful Organizational and Marketing Strategies. Now in here, you'll learn how to create a mission statement or vision statement and how to outline your long-term goals and your short-term goals. Again, this will give you examples of mission statements. It'll provide you Southwest Airlines mission statement, so feel free to use this. And then also it'll help you set your strategic directions or your focus. Again, you want to make sure that you outline your focus as far as your products and who they're intended for and your goal setting. Now again, I won't expect you to go too in-depth as far as this goes, but again, I need you to outline your marketing mix, meaning your product. What are the features, brand names, okay? Now your product could be an actual physical product or it could be a service. For instance, if it's a service, maybe you're a carpet cleaning company, all right? What are the features? What are the benefits? What's your brand name? Do you use Hoover steam cleaners? What's the service? What's the warranty? Talk a little bit about your price. What's your price point? Your discounts. Talk a little bit about briefly the promotional element of your product. Talk about the distribution or place of your product. Do you have steam cleaners at Dollar Generals, or are you a call service? Again, this is where you're going to set your market product focus and then talk a little bit about who your potential consumers are. And then finally, the last thing I need you to do is to outline a situational analysis. And a SWOT is made up of your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Again, your strengths and weaknesses are internal factors. These are internal factors about your company. And then the opportunities and threats are external forces, okay? Threats, do you have competitors? Is there political or legal ramifications that you have to be concerned about? Opportunities, is there no one else in your area that does what you do? Again, these are external forces, and then your strengths and weaknesses are internal. Strengths could be that you're very well versed in cleaning. You have 12 years experience. Your weaknesses could be that you're not an established business, that your internal operations aren't established yet. So again, this is exactly what I'm looking for as far as a situational analysis. Create a grid or explain this to me in paragraph form. It's your choice. So again, in that final project, I'm looking for that mission statement and description of the company, a strategic plan or focus, outlining your product. Then your situational analysis, your SWOT. Okay, tell me exactly what your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are with that product marketing mix. So again, this section is due on Tuesday, and again, I'm looking for more than a page. But let's briefly talk about this week's chapter, which deals specifically with understanding consumer behavior. So when we talk about understanding consumer behavior, so consumers are more and more advanced than they have been in past years. Thanks to the internet, we have become more educated, more savvy consumers, right? We expect products and services on a quicker basis. We have a very developed sense of style. We are very concerned about safety of the products that we choose and their effect on the environment. And we have a very sophisticated shopping experience and shopping style. Again, we're looking for convenience, we're looking for speed, we're looking for style, and we're looking for safety. So again, consumers value these differently. And to understand how consumers work, we really need to know what the consumer decision process looks like. Now, there's many different models that you'll see, but this class specifically deals with the 5 stages of the consumer decision process: the problem or recognition phase, the information search, the comparing of alternatives, the purchase decision, and then also the post-purchase behavior. So let's take a look at each one of these a little bit more in depth. So in our problem recognition stage, the consumer realizes that they have a need or a want. Now, it's important that you know the difference between needs and want, the consumer's ideal situation as well as their actual situation. For instance, let's say my wife, for example. She needs a new pair of shoes, okay? Now, she can go to any store, Target, and buy a pair of sneakers, right? She has a need. The basic pair of sneakers does a good job as far as satisfying those needs. However, she also has wants, meaning she also has the want to look good. So sneakers just aren't going to cut it at work. She wants to look stylish too. That's why she may go to Coach, or she may go to a fancy shoe store like Prada, and pick out a pair of shoes that look good and make her stylish. So that's one of the most important things about marketing, is understanding that balance between needs and wants. That second step of the consumer decision process is the information search. All right. Now there's two different searches that we do as consumers. We have an internal search as well as an external search. Now the internal search includes our personal history with that product, right? We do an internal search. So when I need something, let's say it's a pair of sneakers, I say, okay, I've dealt with DSW in the past, Design Shoe Warehouse, DSW, and I've had a good experience. I've gotten good shoes at a good price with a coupon from there. My internal search has already identified a possible solution by going to DSW because of my previous history with them. Now, this could be a good thing, as in this example, and this can be a bad thing as well. Now, my experience with Kia automobiles, I've never owned one, but I'm pretty old, so I remember when Kias first came out, and they weren't very good cars. I had a lot of friends that had Kias that would break down, and rust out. So my internal search would eliminate Kia from any future possible car purchases. based off of my past experience with them. Now, it's very important to understand that that internal search is very hard to change, right? We're better off using our external, attacking our consumers externally, and they're external, meaning public sources, marketing dominated sources, meaning using advertising and using influencers to help consumers and persuade them towards our products or services. So the information search that we do personally, if you think about it, we use both internal sources as well as external sources when we're going through the decision-making process. The next thing is that we use an evaluation period. The third step is alternative evaluation. We always compare brands, we compare products. The internet has helped us. Now we can use cell phones to take pictures and search other stores for comparable products. It's important to know that we go through this step at different periods too, at different times. Usually if it's a expensive item, we take a long time in this step. If it's an inexpensive item, we may go through this step very quickly. So it's important that we understand that everybody moves through these CDP steps at a different speed. The next step is the purchase decision. We've decided on the product or service to buy. Next, who do we buy from and when do we buy? Now, right now, you'll see it's September, but right now there's a lot of push for Christmas items. Do you know why they push Christmas items out so early? It's because sometimes when you get in the Christmas spirit, you end up buying more. So a lot of retailers push their Christmas products out early to encourage sales from other things. So that purchase decision step is very important. And then finally, the post-purchase behavior step. Now this is very important to know that after the purchase, we're not done advertising to our consumers. We want to make sure that we continue to advertise to our consumers. And one of the most important ways that we advertise to our consumers is by using loyalty programs or post-purchase programs to help influence their friends and other people to buy their products. And cognitive dissonance is another word for buyer's remorse. And the level of cognitive dissonance tends to go up when the product is very expensive and very complicated, right? Usually when you buy something very expensive, you wonder, did I make the right decision? So we have to know, as the value of that piece of product goes up, cognitive dissonance is a very important thing to try to control. Now again, consumer decision process, the speed that somebody moves through that and the details that somebody moved at is very, very determined on how expensive or complicated the problem is. The involvement of high involvement usually indicates that it's an expensive product. So going back to your project and your product, if you have an expensive product or service, you're going to have to understand that somebody's going to move through that consumer decision process very slowly. You're going to have to support them and try to get them through that decision-making process with a lot of supplemental material, a lot of extra things to try to push them around. However, if it's routine problem solving, you may want to push them through that with more gimmicks or more advertising, meaning fancy packaging, bright and colorful colors. If you think about it, think about all the grocery store, candy bars. Now it's not a very in-depth process, right? There's many different candy bars out, but if you always notice, candy bars have such colorful wrappers, cartoon characters, to try to sway people to buy their chocolate over other chocolate. So it's important to keep in mind when you're creating your project how involved your consumer has to be. Now, again, you can use this graph as far as high involvement versus low involvement when you're thinking about the consumer decision process. Again, if you ask yourself these questions that are on the left and the characteristics of those people in your decision-making process for your product, you can figure out if you have a high or a low consumer involvement product. So some of the things that situational influences that affect the CDP, the purchase task, okay, what they're there to do, the social surroundings that they're in, the physical surroundings, we talked about that. When stores decorate for Christmas, they're trying to put you in the Christmas spirit. The temporal effects, whether you're happy, sad, right? Do you ever wonder why stores give out free samples of products, of food products? Because they want to put you in a temporary effect of meaning hungry or wanting more of that product. They're trying to persuade you with this situational. They're trying to influence your personal decision. So a lot of food companies, such as bars or pubs, they give you free samples of things, free pretzels or free peanuts. Again, this is to get your appetite going, to try to influence you into buying other things, right? Happy hour was founded upon that. They're trying to create a temporal effect and get you to buy more. So it's important to know all these influences and how they affect the consumer decision process. Your product and marketing mix can influence them. Society, psychological influences, as well as situational influences. And again, Maslow's hierarchy of needs basically tells us that of these 5 needs areas, again, these all affect our consumer decision process. Strategies to reduce your risk as a company, again, seals of approval to gain trust, endorsements and testimonials, free trials and samples, extensive instructions, and warranties and guarantees. So if you have a complicated product that's high involvement, these are all good things to consider to try to move somebody along that consumer decision process. Finally, the last part of this chapter talks about how we figure out who people are. And again, one of the tools that we use to figure out who we're dealing with in segmentation models that we use is the VALS consumer framework. Now, VALS splits everybody into 8 different areas based off their lifestyle and psychographics. Now, this is based off of how you consume products. And there's 8 different areas, okay? And the vertical portion of this graph is made up by your resources. How many resources you have available? What's your buying power? And then the horizontal portion of this frame is made up by your motivation, whether you're idealistic or if you're a self-expressor. So that's how we determine where you fall into this model as a consumer. Innovators are sophisticated, change-leading, take charge. Achievers are successful, career, family-oriented. Experiencers take risk, are impulsive. Thinkers are very calculated about their purchases. Believers are conservative, conventional, and traditional. Makers are homegrown, self-sufficient, and family-oriented. Strivers are trendy and always seeking approval. And then survivors are passive, risk-averse, and constrained. Survivors usually are senior citizen purchasers. Now, they're living on a budget, or they're very afraid of new things, or afraid of trying new things. They're very frugal with their money. And then at the top, innovators, they're sophisticated. These are the people that take risks, that are beta testers, that take charge, that are leading by purchases. So which one of these are you? That's a good question. And that's why I've assigned a bonus assignment. And the bonus assignment allows you to take the VALS survey, which can be found by clicking here. And the VALS survey is about 36 questions, and it's going to tell you exactly where you fall into this marketing segment framework. So what I want you to do is to take the survey and then post a screenshot of your results and briefly tell me why you don't agree with that. Now, I think you'd be pretty surprised that most of you will see that it pretty much will get you spot on as far as where you are. Now, for several of you, it may not be accurate, but again, it's a pretty interesting survey to take to see where you fall into. So why don't you take the survey, post your results, and discuss with me if you agree with those or not. This is a bonus point for bonus points and worth up to 10 extra bonus points. Good luck, and again, remember this week that the week 4 quiz is due, the final project section 1 is due, and then by next weekend, if you want to, you can take the bonus discussion, the VALS framework survey, and submit it. Until next week, have a good week.